everyone and welcome back. As you can see, the race car is back in the workshop and it's in one piece. So as you just saw, that was me picking this up from a company called Cit-Ren in Brooke, Norfolk, which is ironically like 6 minutes around the corner from where I actually live. An incredible work and well-deserved shout out for those boys because they managed to get this thing fixed in less than 4 days. And the work they've done is absolutely incredible. All the door gaps are absolutely spot on, including the one at the wheel arch. And instead of messing around trying to pull out the sill and it leaving it a big ugly mess, they've actually just pulled out as much as they could, then cut it and then welded in a new section. And you really wouldn't know, especially once I've got the side skirt on, you won't see it at all. So I'm super happy, and this car is now back in one piece and nice and straight. And it's well worth, if you have anything like that that needs to be done, definitely give them boys a ring. So now the car is back in one piece, it's now time to make sure that I sort everything out before our next race. Now, unfortunately, the budget took one hell of a hit with the impact of this car and having to go get it repaired by a proper workshop. So unfortunately, I won't be able to attend Brands Hatch, and I'm absolutely gutted because that is by far my favourite track. However, it's not all lost because in October, the last race of the season is my local track at Cit-Ren. So I'm going to make sure that this car is absolutely on point, ready for that race weekend. So what we're going to do now, first of all, is get this door wrapped up, and then we'll put the side skirt on, and that's the bodywork all sorted, and then we can concentrate on the mechanical stuff.
Don't change the subject, don't you take the focus off you. Do you love me? Look in my eyes, bullshit aside, don't waste my time too. Do you know? Oh, I lost you, but at least I tried to do right by you. I fastened the news, you had to show me what this really was. Enjoy the rest of your life, I'll catch you on the flip side. Karma's a bitch, I can't wait, I'll catch you on the flip side. Don't try, don't try, don't you lie, you lied, yeah. I tried, can't deny, you're broken inside. I know what you do, I know you want to. Can't talk your way out of this one, I'm holding the proof. I drink any proof until we get through.
Okay, so now the car is back in one piece and back in its original colour scheme, it's time to concentrate on the mechanical bits and pieces. Now, we noticed actually a couple of races ago, the auxiliary belt was looking a little bit worse for wear, a little bit perished, and there's a few cracks appearing here and there. So I just haven't got around to doing it, but now we're going to crack on and get it done. Now, I'm really lucky with the modifications to this engine, it's actually now super easy for us to replace this. On the original 182s, they have like a tensioner which pushes down sort of from this end, and it pushes the belt downwards, and it's a real nightmare to actually get this belt undone. However, because we run the 172 Cup non-air conditioned setup on these engines in this configuration, it's super easy for us to replace. So there's one bolt which is the tensioner, which is on the alternator. That way we loosen that off, push the alternator down, there's now no tension on the belt at all. It's a case of whipping it off, putting the new one on, and then tighten it back up. So I've already undone the top bolt, however the actual side adjuster I just need to undo as well because I think I've done that up a little bit too tight. And then we can just get this swapped over.
Enjoy the rest of your life, I'll catch you on the flip side.
Okay, so the old belt is now off, and I'll just show you what I mean. So there's some damage here. Looks like it's been rubbing against something, or it had rubbed at some point. So obviously that's not very good. And there's just a few lines and stuff starting to appear, so I'm not overly happy with that, and for the sake of like £8, I've just got a new one. So let's just get the new one in.
Enjoy the rest of your life, I'll catch you on the flip side. Karma's a bitch, I can't wait, I'll catch you on the flip side. Don't try, don't try, don't you lie, you lied, yeah. I tried.
One job down, 2 more to go. Okay, so the next thing I want to sort is the gear selector. Now this is actually quite difficult to get right, I've found in my experience. So, the gear selector is this bar here. You see, let's go into the gearbox here. Now this is quite far down, shouldn't be hanging this far down. When you try and put it in fourth, for example, it smacks the back where the gearbox, where the exhaust heat shield is. So that's definitely not right. To adjust it, it is literally this little U clamp here. So you undo this bolt and you move this bar backwards or forwards. Now the only problem is, obviously, if you go too far one way, then you'll lose some gears. I had it at Snetterton, very first race I used this car. I lost first and reverse because this was adjusted incorrectly. So I've got to be really careful, and I'm going to try and adjust it properly, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm actually really baffled. So I tried to adjust it, and the same thing happened that it did at Snetterton 3 years ago, where I then lost first and reverse. Luckily, I decided that I was going to buy a second-hand selector anyway, which is this one, with the bushes still in its place. Now, if I line these up side by side, the old one is severely bent. So will you agree and say that they're both pretty much in line? Well, look at that at the front. Comes straight down. So, to be honest, I've probably been struggling with some selector issues for a while because I can't see how that's just happened. This kink here is pretty much flat compared to this, which is still like a tube. So I don't know what's happened, I don't know how that's managed to do it, and I don't know how it's managed to do it between race 1 and race 2, because I didn't jack it up in the middle of the car, so I wouldn't have got that. So anyway, I'm now going to put this second-hand one in its place. Hopefully we get it lined up, and that will cause no more issues. Right, we eventually got there. So I now have all gears, and the throw is no longer massive to fourth. Right, so when that failed, I was coming all the way back here to try and bang that into fourth. But now, right, so first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and reverse. Okay, so there's a whole load of race car prep done today, and I'm super happy with the progress made. Obviously, that damage is now completely been eradicated. You'd never know it happened. The door is now in the correct colour. The side skirt's on. It looks absolutely fantastic, and I'm so pleased that you just wouldn't be able to tell that there was any kind of damage on this car at all. Next, obviously, was the auxiliary belt, and I'm super happy that I've actually finally got round to replacing that. It was just niggling at the back of my mind at Silverstone that those belts love to snap, wrap themselves around the bottom pulley, lock the engine, snap the cam belt, massive catastrophic engine failure, and for the sake of like £12 for the belt and the 15 minutes it took me to replace it, so much better than having to use my spare engine. But the biggest thing on my agenda today was the gearbox issue. Now, obviously, race 2 at Silverstone, I went from 6th to 16th pretty rapidly because I kept missing 4th gear. And it wasn't through a fault of my own, it was literally that the gear selector had decided to give up. And I'm so happy that I bought a second-hand unit because I have no idea how long that's been bent for, how that even got bent in the first place. Now I've got all the gears, the throw is a lot shorter and a lot more precise, so I'm really happy because now the gearbox is absolutely on point. So other than that, I've got one other thing left to do on the car, but unfortunately time has gotten away from me today, so I'm going to have to do that at a later date. Obviously, my next race isn't until the 16th of October anyway, so I've got plenty of time, and before that race, I'm going to go over the car with a fine-tooth comb and make sure everything's done. Might even give the engine an oil change because it's now been 2 race weekends, and I do like to replace all the fluids after about 2 race weekends. So the only thing left to do, other than that, is the outer CV boot gaiters. They're ever so slightly split on both drive shafts. I've got new ones set over there, I've got some grease. It's just that time has gotten away from me today and I just won't be able to get them done. So again, like I say, close to the date, we'll get everything done, get all the fluids changed, get them replaced, and then she'll be good to go and ready for Snetterton. I'm absolutely gutted that I'm going to be missing Brands Hatch because that is my favourite track. But I'm definitely going to make sure that this car is 100% tip-top ready for Snetterton, and hopefully we'll get a good result. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.